This is so hard. Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Zander Foster, and today I want to talk to you guys about my sexuality. I get a lot of questions in real life and also online about my sexuality, and I think it's because people blur the lines between gender identity and sexuality, and so they assume that because I'm transgender, my sexuality must be, I don't know, more interesting or more divergent than the average cis person. I wanted to address this in a video because I did a lot of questioning of my sexuality, but I don't think it was for the typical reasons that people question their sexuality. So I hope this video helps someone that is in a similar situation that I was when I went through that questioning process. So to get the full story, I sort of have to backtrack to before I transitioned, when I was learning what sexuality was and what romantic attraction was, and learning about relationships on a very elementary level as a kid. Growing up, I got it in my head that relationships kind of go like this: boy meets girl, girl likes boy, boy likes girl, boy and girl get into a relationship, boy and girl turn into man and woman get married and have babies. I sort of thought if you did anything but that formula, you were weird and you weren't doing it right. So if you liked someone of the same gender, or if you didn't get married, or if you didn't have kids, you were doing something wrong. And it wasn't that I grew up in a homophobic environment. It was just that every role model in my life, every book character, every movie character, every musical artist, they were all heteronormative people. And there wasn't a lot of talk of people who were different in terms of gender identity or sexuality when I was a kid. I wasn't really exposed to many queer identities until I came out as transgender, and all of these doors that had previously been closed to me were suddenly opened, and people started talking about sexuality and started questioning my sexuality. And I was just sort of bombarded with all of these questions about sexuality and my identity right after I came out, and I had no idea who I was. I was 13. When I was a kid, I had crushes on boys and girls. When we played things like house, I always wanted to marry a girl and I would pretend to be the dad. So I didn't really question that too much. You know, I was 5. 5-year-olds don't have sexuality. They're 5. You know, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, they don't have a sexuality. They don't have sexual attraction. They haven't hit puberty yet. It wasn't until I hit puberty and boys started to meet girls and girls started to like boys, and that equation started to unfold, that I realized I didn't really like that equation. Before I came out, I dated guys, and I put air quotes because I was in middle school, and we like would hug for 10 seconds after the bell rang and everyone would talk about it for a week. It was really hard for me to look at girls the way that my friends looked at guys, because a part of me just understood that I wasn't gay. I don't really know how to explain it. It's not that I didn't want to be gay, it's just a part of me knew that I wasn't attracted to someone that was the same as me. I felt that I liked girls, but I knew I wasn't attracted to the same thing as me, and because I didn't know that I was a guy yet, it was very confusing. After I came out, I realized, okay, I'm a guy, and I like girls, and I don't know if I like guys. There was a girl in my grade, we'll call her Candy, and Candy was dating Sam. I remember looking at this kid and saying, his hair's on point, his outfit's on point, his girlfriend's on point, and I think I have a crush on Sam. Once I got a little bit older and was able to look more introspectively, I realized that I had a crush on Candy and I wanted to be Sam. It was really hard for me to understand that I had a crush on Candy and not Sam, because I was so focused on Sam. I was so focused on his hair and his clothes and his girlfriend and how everyone respected his pronouns and everything, that I was so sure that I had a crush on Sam, when in reality I had a crush on Candy. After I came out as a trans guy, I got a lot of questions about my sexuality from queer circles, and I really felt pressured to hold a sexual identity that wasn't binary. If you guys are interested, I can make another video talking about my binary trans identity and how I felt very pressured to stray away from that after I came out. But this video is about my sexuality, so we're gonna talk about that. I felt very pressured to not be straight after I came out. I really felt like if I landed on one side of the sexuality spectrum, that I wasn't queer enough or I wasn't doing my community justice. And so once I realized that I had a crush on Candy, once I realized that I was looking at girls with romantic and physical attraction, and I was looking at guys with jealousy, I realized that I was straight. I realized that I was a guy who liked girls, and I was just jealous of the guys because that's what I wanted to emulate. I wanted to be seen the way that those guys were being seen, and I wanted to date the girls that those guys were dating. Once I came to terms with the fact that I was straight, I still felt very isolated from queer circles because I was 100% male and 100% straight, and I didn't really want to talk about that because I felt that there were enough people talking about straight sexualities that I didn't have anything to share on that topic. So I've never really talked about my sexuality in detail, even with my closest friends and most of the girlfriends that I've had, because I didn't feel like it mattered enough. And that's so irrational because there is no one identity that is more important or more valid or more real than another identity. And so just because I was straight doesn't mean my identity is less valid. I hope that by sharing my story, I can help some trans person that's out there, either in a similar situation or someone who has dealt with a similar situation, realize that whatever their sexuality is, it's valid and it's real and it's not something that you can change. I think that my generation in particular, especially queer youth in my generation, put an overwhelming emphasis on labels. I see so many kids stress over identity simply because they don't know which label to choose. They don't know what to call themselves. I know that I only came out as transgender because I heard that label and I knew immediately that that's what I was, and I knew that that's what I identified with. But with sexuality, I felt so much pressure to label my sexuality from a very young age that I wasn't even able to explore it. So I really want to stress that labels don't really matter at all. And if you want to label your sexuality or your gender identity, and if that helps you, by all means, do that. But if it is hindering your experience and you're not going to allow yourself to experience something because of a label, then just throw the label out the window. Like, who needs to call themselves gay or straight or bi or whatever? If you are in a relationship or an environment that tells you that you need to pick a label, then it's important to recognize that that is limiting your experience. I know for a fact that if I had looked at Sam all those years ago and said, oh, I think I have a crush on Sam, I'm gay, then that would have stunted my introspective discovery and my development in finding out who I was. If you wake up tomorrow and you find that you have a crush on a guy, you don't have to call yourself gay or straight or bi or whatever. You can have a crush on a guy and see where that goes. If I wake up one day and I find that I have a crush on a guy, I'm gonna allow myself to have that experience. I'm not gonna say, oh, that can't happen because I'm straight and I'm so attached to my heteronormative ideas that I could never fall in love with a man. That being said, I've never looked at guys the way that I've looked at girls. I don't know if this video made any sense, but I haven't really talked about sexuality on my channel yet, and I wanted to sort of start a conversation about that. So if you want to hear me talk about anything related to sexuality, then leave me a comment down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos from me in the future, then subscribe. Stay sweet. Oh, lit. Jess is coming through. Thanks, fam.